Hello class, welcome to lesson 7. We've got a couple of really important things to focus on this week. We're focusing on time management, and that's good because there are some things you will need to plan ahead for in order to make this week work. So there are 3 things I want to focus on. They're all related to the application activity. The first thing I want to focus on is our application activity part 2. If you go to lesson 7 over here in the content tab and scroll down to our post gathering folder, you will see something unusual. We've got our discussion board as usual, we've got our application activity instructions and application activity, and then we have application activity part 2. This is something new, this is something different, and it's in preparation for a future lesson, for lesson 11. And in order to be prepared for this activity in lesson 11, you need to start on this application activity part 2 pretty much right now. What you need to do is track your spending for 4 weeks. So if you start today, on Monday, you can get your expenses for all of this week, week 7, and then week 8, week 9, and week 10, and you will have 4, you can see my fingers, you will have 4 weeks of spending tracked before lesson 11 even begins. And to me that sounds ideal. If you don't see this announcement though, and you don't start on it till later in the week, that's okay. You'll just have to wait until that day in the week of lesson 11 to complete the application activity, if that makes sense. But I would recommend starting on it today. So they've got this expense tracker that you should download. You will need this in order to complete the assignment in lesson 11. And it looks like this. All you need to do is record how much you spend in each category. And it says in the assignments, you will probably not spend money in each category. That is fine. Just enter a 0 for categories in which you do not spend any money. And also, for those of you who still live at home or do not spend your own money yet, you will create a month mock budget where you will project how much it would cost for you to live on your own, okay? But, like I was saying, you just need to record how much you spend in each category. And everything you spend should be able to fall into one of these categories. So here's what I would recommend doing. You don't have to do it this way, but I found that it's the easiest way to keep track of my money when I need to write it down for something like this, or even for my own budgeting purposes. What I do is I have a special place in my wallet that I put all of my receipts, and if I have a minute there in the grocery store, I'll just scribble on that receipt what it was for. So I will just write across it groceries or household needs or personal needs or whatever. I'm not using the categories here, I'm using the categories in my budget, but I'll just write on it real quick so I remember what that receipt was for, and then just tuck it in my wallet. And then at the end of the day, or if you prefer at the end of the week, I take all those receipts out and then I write them down in whatever budget I'm using. So for you it will be this. And what you can even do is if you have, let's say, for food/personal, maybe you've got 3 different receipts for groceries. What you can actually do is click on this box here and then come up here to the FX spot here. FX means function. It means you can type in a mathematical equation and it will do the work for you. So if you press the equals button on your keyboard, it knows you're giving it a math equation. And you can just type it in. You can say, oh, I spent $11.02 on groceries on this first receipt, and then I spent $20, and then I spent $50.17. And then you just click enter, and it will do the math for you. And then they've already set up the spreadsheet to automatically add everything together down here in your grand total. So let's say I did that at the end of week 1, and then at the end of week 2 I've got more receipts. So I just come up here to the function bar and I add more in. I go plus whatever new receipts I have, $13 plus $12.05. Then I press enter and it updates again. So that's one way that you could do it. Just keep all of your receipts. Make sure you check your digital receipts too in your email, and try and track all of your money this week and for the next 4 weeks. You will need these numbers to complete your Lesson 11 application activity. And this can be one of the most important lessons that we do, is about our financial management in Lesson 11. So I really encourage you to take this seriously and to try and track everything you spend, so that if there are any insights you need to get from this lesson, you've done the work to be able to get those insights. You've gathered all the information and you'll have it right here, okay? So there's how our application activity part 2 is going to go. If you have any questions, just let me know. I don't want this to be confusing for anyone. I want it to be an insightful tool. So please call, text, email, and we can talk about it if it's confusing. So there's the first thing you need to work on. The next thing that I want to focus on is our normal application activity. So with the one we just talked about, the application activity part 2, you won't be turning anything in until Lesson 11. Okay, you just need to start tracking now. But for our normal application activity, you will need to turn in your usual template filled out. Okay, so let's look at our normal application activity. It says here that it wants you to track your time. So we'll be tracking 2 things this week, finances and time, which is great because they're kind of based on similar principles of discipline, of planning, and also, I think for me, of realizing just how much I let things get away from me without even realizing it. So it's really insightful for me to track these things. It can be a lot of fun to see the results. It can also be kind of sad depending on how the day went. But let's see. So it wants you to track your time using a time chart for a full 48 hours. So again, you'll need to do a little bit of planning with this application activity too, because you will need to start it 48 hours, at least 48 hours before you turn it in, because after you track your time for 48 hours, you still have to actually fill out the template with different questions about how your time was spent and turn it in. So I'd say you need to do it at least 3 days before Saturday, which means probably starting at Wednesday, so that you can have Wednesday and Thursday to track and Friday to fill it out. Yeah, so Wednesday or Thursday at the latest, you will need to start this application activity. Okay? So again, sorry, there's a lot of planning this week, but it fits with the theme, so hopefully it works for you. So let me show you the time chart that they've got for you to download to track these 2 hours. It's right here. And all you have to do is track your time in 30-minute increments. So let's see here. From midnight, I got good sleep last night. I got to sleep till probably around 7. So I would probably just put sleep in all of these. I won't write them all in right now. And it says, when you participate in more than one activity during a 30-minute period, write down which one you're involved in for the longest amount of time. So after that, I would probably say that I ate breakfast was probably the main activity, and then was probably scriptures and prayer, where I was reading scriptures with my family. So there's just a few entries to just kind of show you what that might look like, and I just write down exactly what I did. Again, giving the thing you spent the most time on the priority. And then it just wants you to assign a category to that, out of sleep, eat, travel, work, study or gathering, family, personal, leisure. Okay, so I would, since I already said sleep, this is a sleep category. That's just what it is. So these are all sleep category, and then this is the eat category, right? That was one of them. And then scriptures and prayer, I would probably put as family time, because I'm spending time with my family while studying the scriptures. But you could also put that down as like church or as study, but no, because it's not really study. I would probably just put it as family. And if it was my personal scripture study time, I'd probably put personal. But the point is, it doesn't matter too much which category you choose as long as you're consistent. What you want is to be able to see where your time goes. So don't get super worked up about which category to put it in. Put it in the category that makes sense for you. And that way, the results, when you see them at the end, will be beneficial for you. Okay? So for me, I'd put this as family for category. Okay? So you will need to fill out all of these slots for one full day, all the way through midnight, and then another full day all the way through midnight. Okay? You'll need to fill it all out over 48 hours. And then, once you've finished recording all of your time in that timesheet, you will answer some questions in a template. Okay, here it is. Here's our application activity. So it asks about the time chart, it asks how many hours you spent in each category, one insight that you gained from this experience, and it is, at least I have found this is a very insightful experience, because sometimes, a lot of the times, we don't realize where most of our time is going. And then if maybe we can adjust our time to focus on the things that matter most to us, our priorities. And then here's the third thing that we need to focus on. So you need to, this final piece is kind of like a separate activity in and of itself, okay? So this is based on the talk that we read for the lesson material of Elder Worthland's talk, 3 Choices. And in it, he talks about doing things in order of priority. So what it wants you to do is to write down the 3 most important things you need to do tomorrow. So whenever you're writing this, whenever you're finishing up your application activity, think, okay, tomorrow, what's the most important thing I need to do? What do I want to be a priority tomorrow? That's absolutely top priority. And write that thing down. So maybe for me, something I've been really trying to prioritize lately is personal and family scripture study, because it makes such a big difference in my life, and I've been having a hard time getting it in. So I would probably put that, personal and family scripture study. Okay, that's my first priority. I've decided that that is top of everything. What's my second priority tomorrow? Probably to cook dinner so that we keep saving money by not succumbing to eating out. So we really need the money. Cook family. Oh my goodness, can you tell I'm out of it? Cook dinner for my family. And my third priority tomorrow, Saturday, would probably be to rest and take care of myself, because I've been pretty sick. I apologize for my congestedness here. So that's probably not the best example, unless that is really what you need. But those would be the 3 things I would focus on tomorrow. So then it says, so now, oops, sorry, it keeps moving my screen. Tomorrow, so for me this would be Saturday, work on the first thing on your list. Okay, so I'll focus on those things very first. And once I've completed those, I'll move on to my second item. I'll make sure that I'm prepared to cook dinner for my family. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to focus on resting. And if you don't finish everything on your list, it is okay. This is not something to beat yourself up over, because you are focusing your energies on the things that matter most, and you were able to complete some of your priorities. Repeat this process for the next 3 days for a total of 4 days. So for me, I would do this for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for a total of 4 days, and then you report on your experience in next week's learning report. Okay? So that's why I said this is kind of its own little activity that you're starting off right here, but it's to help you start to focus on priorities. So I just did this for Saturday, but I'm probably going to want to pull up a separate document. I love my little notepad, so I will just throw up a notepad. I don't know why, but they are just feel easier for me to work with. And I'd probably say, okay, for Saturday, I've already got my scripture study. Anyways, you get the idea. Dinner and rest. And then for Sunday, my 3 priorities will be And then for Monday, and I'd probably fill these out the night before, because sometimes you don't know what your priorities need to be until you're about to come up on the next day, okay? But I would make sure that this was filled out throughout the next 4 days and that I focused on it and was ready to report on it in the following week's learning report. So you won't be reporting on this week, you'll be reporting on it next week, okay? Phew, I know there's a lot of things to focus on this week, but I hope this has helped to kind of walk through what is here. So just as a quick recap, the things you need to focus on this week is first, tracking all of your expenses starting today. You can do that using the budget that they provide. Second, to track your time, to track your time spent over 48 hours. So you need to plan ahead and start on Wednesday or Thursday at the latest using their time tracking sheet. So there's the second thing you need to focus on. And then the third thing is to plan out your priorities for 4 consecutive days in preparation for talking about it in next week's learning report. Okay? So those are the 3 things you need to do this week. You're going to be awesome. You can totally do it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Again, I don't want this to be confusing. I want this to be an awesome tool for you as you work on managing your time and your finances. So just let me know what I can do, and good luck with the week.